Hey guys, Andrew Shrout. I'm here on the sideboard. I'm here with Gerard Fabiano. How's it going, Gerard?
Mr. Shrout, good.
Hey. So I saw a lot of the people that were playing in the Players Championship last week in Seattle. I didn't see you.
No.
So you were somewhere else. You decided to go to Grand Prix Baltimore instead. Now normally this is where I'd give you a little sass about skipping out, but you ended up winning the event.
Yes, I did. It was great, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, I won 13 in a row, which is I don't think my streak will continue here because It's tough to do, but we'll take one game at a time, I guess.
Yeah, sure
see what happens. Yeah.
All right. So we're gonna talk about your standard deck, which is Sultai Reanimator.
Yes.
So talk to me a little about how you ended up on this deck.
Okay, so basically, I think this was about 2 weeks ago. I was trying to get some extra points just because I wasn't sure if I was going to make the Players Championship because a lot of other people were pretty much climbing towards the top, and I was getting pushed down to the bottom.
Sure.
And I played a Sidisi whip deck, and I ended up winning the Super IQ. It was up in Connecticut.
Okay.
And I thought the deck was pretty good. I thought it played out well. I really like Thoughtseize. I like Treasure Cruise. I like Courser. Any card advantage type card is pretty much my type of card.
Sure.
So this deck really had all of that. And I thought Satyr Wayfinder was one of the best cards and one of the best 2-drops in Standard, just because there's Fleecebane Lion, there's the Rashaka's Death Dealer, but other than that, there's not that many great 2-drops.
Sure.
And this 2-drop does a lot for you. It's a 1/1 body, which is fine to attack or block sometimes, and also it gets you a land, which is something really important, and of course puts cards in your graveyard.
Yeah. Kind of bridges you to the mid game.
Exactly. Yeah. So where we see where it's a Sultai Reanimator, it's pretty interesting because 2 weeks ago I played with 4 copies of Sidisi.
Sure.
And I spoke to my good friend Reed about it, and he said, hey, what about just playing a Bug Constellation or a Sultai Constellation deck with no Sidisi? And I was like, all right, let's give it a try. And honestly, this piece of work right here is pretty much all of Reed's.
Okay.
So I can't really take much credit at all.
Sure.
Yeah.
There are a lot of actually duos in this tournament.
Yeah, I believe it, yeah.
So
okay.
Seems reasonable. So we'll start from the top, kind of work through the cards. Courser, Caryatid, you're a green standard deck.
Exactly. Get some mana. You're not going to be able to kill it unless they have Crackling Doom. Definitely a card you want to see in your opening hand.
Sure. And then Satyr Wayfinder, kind of the glue that holds any Reanimator deck together.
Sure.
Moving on, we have 3 Doomwake Giant and then 4 Eidolon Blossoms. You kind of set this up as a Sultai Constellation deck.
Exactly, because if you think about it, Eidolon Blossom gets you a new card and combos extremely well with Farika, which we'll see in next slide, combos nicely with Doomwake Giant. And Sidisi is nice, but it's only a 3/3. Sometimes you might mill yourself too much.
Sure.
And it's not really getting you a new card, it's just getting you a 2/2. Sure. And what can a 2/2 really do in a format full of Coursers, a format full of Doomwake Giants or Elspeth tokens?
Okay.
I'm playing 2 Hornet Queens. I actually played 0 Hornet Queens at the Super IQ.
Okay.
Reed kind of convinced me to play a couple of Hornet Queens. I talked to my friend Ryan Frainer and Eric Smith, and they said, hey, Hornet Queen's really good. We don't think you want 4, but let's just play 1 or 2.
Okay.
And after sideboard, you'll probably see me board these out a lot.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't tell anybody though. So.
All right.
All right.
We'll tell the internet, but not the competitors.
Now you guys can tell them. Who cares?
All right.
All right.
So we have 3 Thoughtseize.
I really wanted to play 4.
Yeah.
And I was driving home from Reed's house. I think this was Wednesday or Thursday night. And I'm like, all right, should I play 1 Commune and 3 Thoughtseize, or should I just play 4 Thoughtseize? This is what Reed had. I was about to switch, but I decided to leave the 1 Commune with the gods. I started out with 3 in my Sultai Sidisi deck.
Sure.
Then I went down to 2. Reed kind of did the same thing, and then we ended up settling on 1. It's not that good of a card, but it's just kind of there just to be there.
Yeah, it's just kind of the proxy 5th Satyr Wayfinder, basically.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
All right. 2 Farika, God of Affliction.
Farika's really good.
Yep.
It's one of the best cards. A lot of people don't know that. I think it's only like $3 now.
All right.
You guys could buy them for a good deal.
Yeah, once you win the tournament, we'll try to make something happen with that, right?
But yeah, basically you're able to just make a lot of tokens. You're able to draw a lot of cards if you have Eidolon, or destroy your opponent's creatures with the Doomwake Giant. One thing you have to be careful of, which Reed actually pointed out to me, if you have an Eidolon, your opponent could just be like, get a guy, and you have to draw a card.
Okay.
So you want to try to maneuver everything around, but definitely a good card, and it gets turned on more often than you would think.
Okay.
You just need a Courser, and if you have a Hornet Queen, forget about it.
Sure.
Yep.
And then of course Whip of Erebos, the marquee card. What makes it a Reanimator deck, basically? Yeah,
it's definitely really good. Lifelink's awesome as well. I only wanted to play 2 copies, but right now there's 3 in the list.
Okay.
I might board 1 out. The Downfall's definitely good.
Sure.
And Murderous Cut is a fine removal spell.
Just a 1-mana removal spell.
Yeah.
Can't argue with that. And then 2 Sultai Charm to round things out.
Yeah, Sultai Charm is one of my favorite charms, just because it has a lot of utility, especially when there's whips in the format. People still play Banishing Light. Some people play Chain to the Rocks. Whatever the case may be, you're able to destroy those artifacts or enchantments.
Okay.
Draw some cards if you need to, and then of course you could destroy a monocolor creature. A lot of decks don't have many monocolor creatures. Some do, so
Sure.
it's still good. Kill a Doomite Giant.
Yeah.
Call it a day.
There are a couple kind of big, scary ones. So
Yeah, definitely.
certainly.
Yeah.
We won't talk about the mana base too much.
Yeah,
It's a mana base.
you have some duels, you have some scry lands.
Sure.
Mana's pretty good. So no island in the deck. I actually played an island in the Sidisi whip deck, and it was probably the worst card in the deck. And I know a lot of people say island's the best card in Magic. It was actually the worst card in the deck. Doesn't really cast your Thoughtseize, doesn't cast your Wayfinders or your Caryatid, so.
All right. To Nykthos Shrine the Nyx, actually, kind of an interesting addition.
Yeah, I don't really like this card. Reed said it was one of the best cards in the deck.
Okay.
So I decided to listen to him.
Can't argue with Reed, right?
Yeah, no, I feel like this whole is like, Reed said this, so let's do it. But I don't really like Shrine that much, but you could definitely get some really good draws with it, depending on, if you have a Courser, if you have a Caryatid. And of course, with Hornet Queen, you're able to, generate a lot of mana. What are you going to do with that mana? Who knows? We'll find out tomorrow.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. Before we get to the sideboard, let's talk a little bit about your preparation for this event.
Sure.
Particularly with regards to your expected metagame. Because, of course, it's a very small field. A lot of you guys know each other.
Yes.
It's pretty easy to put a lot of these players on a pretty narrow range, I think. So how much of that was a factor in your deck decision or in your card selection?
For Standard, it was not a decision at all.
Okay.
I just pretty much wanted to play a Sultai type deck that has some card advantage. I really like Thoughtseize as a card.
Okay.
I feel you gain a lot of information by looking at your opponent's hand, by kind of disrupting their strategy.
Okay.
And I just think Sidisi Reanimator type decks or just a straight Sultai kind of Eidolon Blossom deck like this would be a fine choice for the tournament.
Okay.
I think there'll be people playing Jeskai tokens. I think maybe some players will try to metagame against the field, but when it comes to Standard, you want to play powerful cards.
Sure. So just built the best deck in a vacuum, basically.
Pretty much, yeah.
All right.
So
we're on to the sideboard, so let's just go card by card.
yeah,
What's going on with these cards?
Negate's really good. I feel that a couple of people might play a blue-white control deck, and Negate's one of your best answers to combat a Planeswalker or to combat end hostilities. Also, if you play against blue-black control or just in general, Negate is cheap and powerful.
Okay.
Disdainful Stroke, pretty much the same thing. Counter one of their best cards. For my 2 mana, I'm going to counter your 4 mana spell, your 5 mana spell. And of course, Ashiok Nightmare Weaver, probably my favorite Planeswalker of all time, one of my favorite cards of all time.
Sure.
High five thing, okay. Just really good in general.
Ashiok has no time for high fives.
Yeah, no time for high five. Probably bite my hand off or whatnot. But yeah, if you go like Thoughtseize and then Ashiok, that's like a really good combo.
Sure.
So I like the card. I don't think too many people have answers to an Ashiok. There's no more Abrupt Decay in the format. So we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Sure. And then, not the only Planeswalker.
Not the only Planeswalker, yeah.
Kiora the Crashing Wave.
Yeah, Kiora is actually an addition from Reed. He thought it would be really good in certain matchups, and overall, I think Kiora is a powerful card.
Okay.
And because Standard slowed down a bunch more, a lot of these cards get better.
Sure.
There's no pack rat anymore, and there's not that many aggressive decks. So I think Kiora is really good. And after board, you kind of want to board into a more Sultai control deck. You don't even need the whips. You don't need the Hornet Queens anymore. Let's just play Kiora, Read the Bones, Ashiok, some counter spells, Thoughtseize, throw in another Sultai Charm, and all of a sudden you have a Sultai control deck. So how is your opponent going to try to adapt to that? Maybe they'll try to go big, they'll try to go under you, but regardless, you could probably strategize against either option.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're basically kind of trying to move away from the graveyard.
Yeah, you don't really need, I mean, it's great, but relying on a card like Sidisi isn't that wonderful, I don't think. So that's why we don't even have Sidisi anymore.
Okay.
So,
all right. And then Read the Bones obviously plays into that
yeah,
same
exactly. Read the Bones
post-board
combos
control
well.
package.
Yeah, find your cards. You have the card draw in the sideboard, so you can find the particular sideboard cards. You board it in.
Sure. And then a couple of one-ofs to kind of round out your removal packages.
I actually would have liked to play a second Bile-Blight, but it was kind of tough to fit everything in. So one Bile-Blight, it might be. We'll see what happens. I would rather have 2, maybe even 3, but you only have a 15-card sideboard, so you really have to pick and choose your battles.
All right, and then Thoughtseize and Hero's Downfall just for bolstering your removal suite, I guess, when you become more controlling.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
All right. Is that no? We have
last slide right here.
We do have more.
Yeah. So Silence of Believers and Treasure Cruise. It's kind of weird to have a Treasure Cruise on the sideboard, but again, when you're changing your deck, that's when you want Treasure Cruise. Game 1, you don't really want Treasure Cruise because you have 4 Eidolon Blossoms. That's going to draw your cards. After board, you might not have 4 Eidolon Blossoms anymore. Maybe you go down to 1, maybe you go down to 2. Silence of Believers, I actually don't like this card at all, but I was testing with Reed the other night, and I drew it when I had 10 mana and I just killed 3 of his coursers, and I was like, okay, I got to play this card.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Okay.
So
All right,
one-sided
fair
Wrath of
enough.
God, pretty much.
Sure. All
Yeah,
right.
So that's the deck.
Yeah, it seems like you've got a pretty solid plan here. So it definitely seems like you've put in the work.
Yeah, well, between the Super IQ and Reed's preparation and just testing with him, I definitely feel not, that I'm the most prepared tournament player for this event, or I'm not the best player at the event. But hey, it's Magic. Anybody could win.
Sure thing.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in and talking through it with us.
All right. Yeah. Good luck, everybody.
Stick around. We've got plenty more coverage coming of the Players' Championship here in Roanoke.